Welcome again to another session of Talks and Chats. It's been a little bit of time since we've been on, and we thank God that we're able to come back together and just spend some time together. It's been awesome being able to share with one another, being able to bring in people from the body of Christ, and today we have a special one. And I am so grateful, so thankful that we have the Honorable Alicia Reece, our Hamilton County Commissioner, here today, and we're going to chat.
Yes.
Amen.
Yes.
Amen. I'm thankful that you could be here just for the moments that we have. And we have many people that'll be tuning in from all over the country and are right here in Cincinnati. So we're going to be able to express the things that are going on here, but there'll be folks that are tuning in that are finding out about things that are going on here in this wonderful area that we live in. And I've just thought about some of the background that you have. It's been blowing me away to know that really you've been in this public servant piece like seemingly forever. I know you're young still.
I'm still young, but it seems like forever.
You know,
yes.
like, I mean, what triggered that? How did you get started?
Yeah, well, I would just say that everybody has an assignment, and I've spent a lot of time trying to figure out what is my assignment. And sometimes you want to do something, but God has a different assignment for you. So my background is in marketing and advertising, and I'm very creative in that space. And I thought, God, don't you want me to be Oprah? But God has something else for me. He has something. I ask him every day, you sure you don't want to be that Oprah? I could really help a lot of people with Oprah's money.
Give me another platform.
But I grew up in Cincinnati, Ohio. I grew up in public service and giving back, community, civil rights. And my father was the chief of staff for Cincinnati's first black mayor. I was a little girl walking around City Hall, didn't know what I was looking at, and always saying, I can't wait till I get 18 where I don't have to follow my dad around and won't have to come to City Hall, not knowing that God was preparing me for something, to see Mayor Berry and how he operated. And a lot of my style is similar to his. Okay. He was a man of delivery, a man of facts, a man of opening the door, standing up when it's not popular, being in the position but not letting the position take over him. And so a lot of my style comes from him. Then I went on and I went to Withrow High School, and I ended up running for class president because I was in a national room with Jesse Jackson, with leaders from across the country. Yeah. And my father said, sit here and don't be seen and be quiet because you're not supposed to be in here. But to hear him talk about running for president, and we were in Chicago, and he says, we can come from the slums of Chicago and dream beyond our circumstances and go to the White House. So that's when I started thinking about dreaming beyond circumstances. I said, man, if he could do that, I'd come back and be class president. So that was my first race. Then I went to Grambling State University down south. I told my parents I had gotten accepted to Brown University and Ivy League school, and at the last minute I said, you know what, Daddy, God told me I want to go to a black college and I want to go to the South. And so my mother stepped up, was like, let her go. And I went down to Louisiana. And was away from my parents. So I thought, when I was with my parents, I had to read like 5 newspapers. We're at the dinner table. We're talking about issues, the community. I got to be in social justice marches. I got to do all those things. So I said, I'm in college. I'm away. I could just be a college student. But David Duke, KKK Grand Wizard, said he was running for governor, and he was going to shut down Grambling, turn it into a jail. And he had Grambling, Louisiana Tech, which is a predominantly white school, fighting each other. We weren't even fighting until he showed up. And so I called my father and said, something's got to be done. He said, okay, I'm going back to bed. What you going to do about it? And that's when I saw, well, wait a minute, it ain't my parents, it's on me. So everything I learned, how to organize, activate, mobilize, it just clicked. All these things I learned growing up, being in the rooms that I didn't want to be in, being in my dad's radio show, and now I got a radio show. I said, I can't wait till his radio show's over. I don't want to be here on Sundays. So, but all of this I'm learning. And so anyway, we activated and mobilized thousands of young people. We registered them, we mobilized them, we defeated David Duke. And Grambling is still graduating students today. So I did a lot at Grambling. I was Miss Grambling State. I played on the basketball team, won a SWAC championship, had my own radio show. Yeah, Deion Sanders, I am SWAC, right? That's what Deion. And all those experiences kind of helped me get to where I am. So I came back to Cincinnati after graduating and again pursuing this communications piece, but God just kept bringing me to political positions. So I ended up working for a congressman. I didn't even apply for the job. I ended up doing Get Out to Vote coordinated campaign for the whole county. I never applied for that. I was trying to pursue this Oprah thing because my parents had been in advertising and that's what I wanted to do. But they tried to close the health clinics in Cincinnati.
Right.
And so I was like, something's got to be done. I called up Congresswoman Maxine Waters, who I had met, who was my political shero. Never thought she would call me back. And I said, God, if she calls me back, that's a sign. And she calls me back, and I almost pass out. But then she says, I said, something got to be done. She said, yeah, what you going to do about it? You're running. I said, I am? She said, yeah, you're running. So I ended up running for city council, and no one thought we could win. And she came to town, spent 3 days with me, going against the establishment who said I couldn't win. And
you were young.
I was young. Yeah, I was a lot younger than I am now.
The youngest.
Yeah, still the youngest woman ever to win city council in Cincinnati history. And I didn't win at the bottom. I was in the top.
Right.
And so I ended up doing that, became vice mayor. We had some tough times in Cincinnati. I had baptism by fire, got a lot of things accomplished. And then I ran for mayor and I didn't win at the last second. My mayor said he wasn't running for a re-election, so I didn't have time to really get it going. But it was not a time when Black girl magic or women, it wasn't that time. But I knew I had to do it so that the next woman won't be challenged because they're a woman. And so I ran for that. Then when it was over, I said, I'm out. I want to go back to my original dream for Oprah. And I started doing advertising, marketing. And then I was called, my mother died of breast cancer. It's Breast Cancer Awareness Month, so certainly acknowledge her. Died at 57 years young. And I got called, I was the deputy director of tourism for 88 counties, worked for the governor, and did that. I loved it, but I got called back into service to be a state representative. So I ended up being a state representative. Then I became president of Ohio Legislative Black Caucus. I spoke at the National March on Washington 50th anniversary, and I called for a voter Bill of Rights, to put voting rights in the Constitution. And we got over 100,000 signatures at the state, and we didn't have the funding to get on the ballot. But what did happen is that I got it in the DNC platform. I was the vice chair of the DNC convention, got it in the platform. Michigan picked it up, got it on the ballot. It's in Michigan's Constitution now. So we're still, I think, at that fight for voting rights. And I say all that because I got all these experiences in voting, which is what we're going to talk about today. I also have a lot of experience in marketing, advertising, and I have a lot of experience in economic development. I've done helped get the Martin Luther King Highway exit done in Ohio, the only new highway exit in the state of Ohio, helping people get to the hospitals, creating a whole innovation district. So I've been active in that, and I've got a Cincinnati Black Music Walk of Fame, which I'd love to come back to talk about. That we're building an interactive tourism attraction that will be world renowned right here in Cincinnati, across from the NFL stadium and right in the Monday Night Football shot on prime property. So I have all these, this journey that God has put me on, and He's done it in a way that I need to be in public service. I came out of the state legislature because of term limits and wasn't looking to go back into politics. And I got on my knees and said, God, what is it that you really, really want me to do? And I will be obedient. And then this opportunity came up out of nowhere. I wasn't looking for it. I never thought I'd be a county commissioner. I wasn't seeking it, but I knew where it came from. And so I ran for the position, and then we had a pandemic.
Wow.
The election was shut down just hours before the election.
Right.
And I had a tough primary. I didn't have the support of my party. They went neutral, and so it was tough. The person I was running against had $750,000, and then the election stops. And I'm like, God, is this what you wanted me to do? And I remember sitting there, and something came to me, even though the whole state was shut down. How do I help people vote in a new way now?
Right.
They've got to go absentee. How do I teach them? Because if I don't, their voice won't be heard. And so I created My living room is like a whiteboard. I start putting everything, what I can't do, what you can't do, what's closed, and I came up with voting is essential. We were the first state in the nation to shut down an election because of COVID. We didn't know it was called COVID. Remember, it was coronavirus.
That's right. That's
They
right.
told us don't even wear a mask. Remember, just wear the gloves.
Yeah.
So I decided, I prayed, I decided I'm going out when everybody went in. And I went door to door because we only had 2 hours to get food to people. And we didn't know how long it would be before they won't have food. And so I went all over the county, even places that I just knew wouldn't want to see me. They had Confederate flags. I said, you want me? And they were hugging me, thank you for the food. And that's when I knew, I said, wait a minute, this is my assignment. So I ended up winning. I put a whole new way to vote. We educate, motivate, and activate in a short amount of time. We use the churches as drive-throughs. We use the gas stations as voter hubs. All these things I came up with, and we ended up winning. And I remember someone telling me, well, a person that I ran against told me, well, good luck, because you're not going to have no money to do anything. And for a moment, I doubted God. I said, yeah, God, why would you put me here? And now we're going to be broke. And then I stopped. I said, wait a minute. God, I trust you. And then we end up with more money in the history of Hamilton County through American Rescue Dollars. And I figured out my real purpose. I know when I'm there, I'm gonna make sure the people get the money, get the resources. So I put this bus together called 513 Relief. This bus goes out because we didn't have people applying because they didn't know how. We go out, we with the computers, we helping you apply right on the spot. Neighborhood to neighborhood. Everything throughout the county. The rural areas, the inner areas, and then we also have where you can get the vaccine shot and get the economic shot in the arm. And nowhere in the country had anything like that, and still to this day doesn't have anything. And we're gonna have it permanent now, where this is the way we do business. But God knew I was gonna go that extra mile. So I know my purpose, and it's always good when you know your purpose.
Amen.
So
Amen.
anyway, voting is my big thing because I always say this, it doesn't cost you a thing to vote, but it can cost you everything if you don't vote. And people don't realize that if you don't vote, you lose everything, possibly. If you do vote, you got a shot at getting the right people in and at least having your voice heard, and it doesn't cost you anything. But in the last couple elections, these last 2 elections, the city council in Cincinnati had the lowest turnout in history.
See, that's what I want to talk about.
So I'm glad that we're talking
yeah.
about voting. Voting has started in Ohio. We're early voting right now.
Right.
And you've got 30 days to early vote. I really push early voting because it cuts down on confusion. Election day is tougher because if it's a problem, we can't correct it.
Right.
But if you go early, you go into one location, to the early vote stations, and all the experts are there. And so I really, really push the early voting because you don't have to worry about the weather, you don't have to worry about any shenanigans being played. You're going to the actual Board of Elections sanctioned early vote center. And so that's why I'm really big on early voting.
So right now, between now and November 8th,
Yes.
right, we can vote all the way up to that date.
That's correct.
Right.
In Ohio, you can vote Monday through Friday, and they've got the hours. But on the last 2 weeks, you can vote on Saturday and Sunday. And that means a lot to me because they were really trying to take away Sunday voting and Saturday voting when I was in the state legislature. And so I'm really sensitive to making sure that we have the turnout because they would love to take away those dates. Now, we might say those dates might become more important in a presidential election. But if you don't vote in what they call midterm election, then they'll take it away when you want to do it in the presidential election. So I really am encouraging early voting. I think that's the best way to go. I think it's more foolproof and less questions. You know, people call the day of, they might have moved your polling location. And I know I voted here 50 years and now they moved it and all that. It is too late. We can't correct anything. We can correct it if you come early. And we can get on top of it.
What are some of the things you see? I mean, I've been in the voting locations and I hear things about addresses and I mean, it's just the ID situations and, you know, that seem like that causing people to not get an opportunity to vote. You know, and I don't know if that's some of that's on purpose or if that's just the way it is. You know, the rules.
Yeah, I mean, we've had instances where people go to for example, you'll go into a gym. Say they rented out a gym as a polling location, and they have different precincts. So they might have 4 tables, and each table represents a precinct. And a lot of people who work the elections, these are volunteers. A lot of them are seniors, not all of them seniors, but they're doing the best they can, right? And it happened to me, so I'll share this story. I go to the gym, and the person that's there even knows me. I said, yeah, you know, they know who I am, so they're not doing it on purpose. And they look at the thing, and there's a voter book. There's a voter book,
right.
So that's official. But then they have like another sheet, kind of like a cheat sheet that shows addresses. And they say these addresses fit here. And so he was looking at the cheat sheet, and he says, well, no, I don't see your address at all. I said, whoa, whoa, whoa. I know this. This is where I've been voting. I really know this. And he said, I don't see you. I don't see you. I said, could you do me a favor? Please look at the voter book. He goes to the book, and he says, oh, boy, here you are. Now, what if I had left? So those are the things that you get when you go. And someone might come to this table for a precinct, but they're supposed to be at that table.
Right.
But they don't send you to that table. They give you a provisional ballot. So that's why early voting, I think, is more clean.
You kind of get rid of all of that
Yes.
kind of stuff. Yeah, I think a lot of our folks, you know, you get around this emotional piece when it's president time,
Right.
seemingly, because there's so much in your face that's coming on, you know, the television and so forth, radio programs.
Right.
Here comes midterm, and it's just as critical
Right.
as that 4-year period. But do you have any idea around what causes folks to now sit back and say, not right now?
Yeah, I think it's education. There's no such thing as midterm.
Okay.
We use that term, but for me, it's no such thing. It's voting every time. And people say, why can't I, you know, I mean, to be honest, what are you doing when you can't vote every time? I mean, what do we usually say when people do other stuff? If it's free, it's for me. Well, this is free. Why is it not for me? It takes up a few minutes. And here's a couple things that happens. Of course, presidential. Everybody says, oh, the president. What happened when we elected President Obama? It's the first African-American president. We were very proud. It took everything we had out of us. And we went to the inauguration. And we were celebrating. And the opposition never stops organizing. So their thing was, we're going to take all of the governor and state positions. So all the state representatives, we're going to draw the lines where we always win. And we're asleep, letting them do it. They're drawing the lines. They're controlling the governors. And what we're finding now is that we're moving back to state rights.
Right.
Even voting rights right now is at the Supreme Court. And however it turns out, they may send it back to the state Supreme Courts. But we don't even know about the state Supreme Courts. And most people don't even know sometimes who the governor is. We start paying attention to the governor when the pandemic happened. Every day at 2 o'clock, we is he gonna let us outside? Can I open my business? Do I, you know? So if somebody got that kind of power, I remember a brother, he had a barbershop, and he had put on, how can they shut me down? I'm a self-made man, and I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do. And I reached out to the brother, and I said, listen, isn't there a certificate in your place? Yes. I said, what does it say? It says state board, keyword state, and there's a board. They gonna determine if you open or not. You, even though you self-made, but you're living under laws and rules. And so everyone should vote, especially this time, because you could see how important state government was. You had to look at, it wasn't the president didn't tell you you can open your business. It wasn't the president that shut you down. You had to go, every state had its own rule. And Ohio had their rule, and you had to look every day at 2 o'clock. It was like when the soap operas first came out. Girl, turn it on, 2 o'clock, what we gonna do? Is he gonna let us out? Telling us even if we can step outside our own home. So if important and that much power, I need to know who the governor's going to be.
Right.
And this election, governors around the country are on the ballot. In this election, state representatives, they had to vote to decide if you're going to come out the House or not. If they got that much power to decide if I can come out of my own home with my own, I pay the bills here, they decide if I can get in my own car. I don't care how nice your car is. Whether you was in a hoopty or whether you was in, a Bentley, they decided if you could even drive. So if somebody got that much power over my life, I got to have a say. I got to be on record. I got to have a voice. And so that's what voting is. But a lot of times we don't break it down to those levels. Of course, people die for the right to vote. And because so many generations, not that many, but our generation now don't have to suffer with that. We don't want a lot of, younger people, I don't want to hear it. I'm doing what I want. You didn't do what you wanted to do. They shut down the party. You didn't get to go to, the governor decided, are you going to get the party?
Exactly.
So if somebody is deciding these things, don't you want to have some say? And that's what I try to break voting down to. I got a show called Alicia, Reece Soul Food on WGRI. Comes on Fridays at noon. But I say that's what I do. I break it down to collard greens, cornbread, and macaroni and cheese. And voting is not way up here. Voting is here. Voting decides your, how you gonna eat, how you gonna sleep, what you gonna do. We had money at the county that came from the federal government, but they were getting ready to get the money back when I got elected because they said nobody's applying. But if you didn't have someone, say like myself and some others, to say, wait a minute, we're gonna get a bus, we're gonna come out there, we're gonna show you what it is. And then all of a sudden people started applying. And we have helped, the bus itself helped over 4,000 people keep the lights on, keep the roof over their head. Senior citizens came out to the bus, and because of the federal rules, it's federal money, they weren't able to be eligible. Because why? They get a Social Security check. So I had to go back and say, now somebody else might have said, oh, well, we tried, okay. Good luck, senior citizens. I came back and said, wait a minute, So we found another pot of money through the levy and said this money, $1 million, to help the seniors because their gas and electric is going up. And we were able to help a lot of them. So this year in Hamilton County, we have a senior service levy that's back on the ballot to be renewed. We have a mental health levy that's on there. We have a hospital levy. So now let's just think about it. Forget the personalities. Do you care about grandma? You care about Big Mama? You care about your grandpa? You got to come and vote for them because they're on the ballot. Do you care about, everybody said, oh, we got to do something about mental health. Mental health, we need it. We need more money. We need to do it. It's on the ballot now. No more talking. You can do something. It's on the ballot. Hospital. Do you want people to go to the hospital and get turned away? It's on the ballot. So a lot of times we get caught up in the personalities, which, we got people on the ballot. Yeah. But your issue for real is on the ballot. If this senior levy don't pass, more and more seniors wiped out. If this mental health, more and more people that need mental health ain't gonna get no help. They're gonna be out here on the streets. If hospital don't happen, when you go to the hospital, they're gonna turn you away and tell you, I'm sorry, we can't help you. So these are the kinds of things that we can't get caught up in the TV ads. Oh man, these ads are terrible. I can't take it anymore. Yeah. You don't have to worry about it. Voting has started now. You got the power now. Yeah. The TV don't have the power. You got the power. It's finally, I got the power. I can go in here and make a move. Right. And I started telling people, I said, we got to move from talking and get to walking. Because now the poll has opened. And now we can go in and have the power. No more Ketanji Brown Jackson, Supreme Court Justice. I mean, we watched that. It was brutal. This black woman who's overqualified, did everything right, overqualified. Her resume is so big that LinkedIn can't even contain it. And how many people are like her are on their own jobs and get looked over, get belittled, never get a chance? And we watched it on national TV, double standards with this black woman.
Exactly.
And she crying, and Booker, Senator Booker said, don't cry, I got your back. And so she finally gets there and everybody was upset. But we watched Republican senators get up when it was time to vote. She done went through everything. You done interrogated her. She done showed you everything. She done answered every question. Republican senators said, I don't care if you're qualified. They got up, turned their backs, and walked out on it. And everybody was so upset. And I'm telling people now, you got a chance to go in the booth and say, I'm turning my back on you and voting your head out of office. I've been waiting for this. I've been wanting to get you since Ketanji Brown. But Ketanji Brown, I got your back. I'm going to take care of it. So that's how we have to think about the power of the vote.
I think sometimes you are exposed, again, TV, right? And between issues and personality, and you really just don't care. The issues, I know when you go to vote and you get to reading, you're like, oh my God, what is this really saying?
Right.
Is yes a good thing, or is no the good thing? Vote yes for the levy. Okay, great. But in this case, it was no. I should have, it's like.
No, it is hard because when you go
confusing.
in there, they have all of the legal rigmarole.
Yeah.
Now, when everyone should get this, these should be passed out at churches so people can read it. You have this guide. Now, before you go in, you make your own cheat sheet on here, meaning you check what you're doing so you don't have to get. Now, there are areas you don't have to vote in every category. Don't get feeling bad, say, oh man, I don't want to feel like I'm dumb, so I just go ahead and go with it. You can skip if it's something that's not right. You don't just go in there, man. I don't want them to think I don't know. It's not a quiz.
Right.
This is not a pop quiz. This is not your final exam. We're not grading it. So you don't have to go in and say, man, I skipped 2 and now I'm gonna be down to 50%. No, you go in and vote on the things you know. Now, you're right. These issues, you got the yeses and the nos. For example, bail reform. Everybody's been talking about, we want bail reform, we want bail reform. There's an issue on there that would stifle bail reform. That's issue 1. So if you want bail reform, you ain't going with issue 1. You got to go with a no. Now, when they talk about the seniors and they say, oh, it's a renewal, you say, oh, wait a minute, I got to vote yes for Big Mama. That's a yes. So those are how you do it. So when you go here, you can get these. Don't wait to go there because this thing is long. They do that on purpose. Long,
Get
and you
tired.
go and say, man, I can't even read. And you going in there, but you don't want nobody to know you can't read. Then you go in this circle. I don't want them to think I'm dumb. I'm gonna circle.
Fill it in anyway.
No. You're in charge. But I always do encourage people to get this. It is a lot of reading, but it shows you the different issues. And one of the things we could do.
It breaks it down.
Yeah, it breaks it down. One of the things we could do that I'm willing to do is someone on these issues that call in, pastors and organizations to explain the issues. And maybe at church you got a cheat sheet so people understand here's the issues.
That'd be
When you
helpful.
walk in that door, you walk in there with your card. The church say, no. Reverend Piper's told me about this one. Y'all ain't gonna fool me on this one. Just issue 1 thing. I know what it's about, Oh, wait, no, you ain't gonna get me to vote no on grandma now. Grandma's on here. I got this. So that when we walk in, we're prepared. Take a little paperwork. We can take some paperwork in. It's okay to take some paperwork in. The judges is critical. I wanna highlight something on judges. Now, we got local judges. And then we got Supreme Court judges. And people get confused because someone told me, didn't we get Ketanji Brown Jackson is in there? What are these other, they trying to run against her? There's 2 Supreme Courts. So there's the federal, we have nothing to do with it. Even as much as I wanted to jump through the TV tube and cast my vote for Ketanji Brown Jackson, you can't do that for federal. They're appointed for life. Ohio has their state Supreme Court. Why is that important? Because when the Supreme Court federally, they'll send stuff back to the state. And now the state people, we don't know who they are. We ain't never seen them. We didn't vote for them. And now and then they hold the fate of our issues and our existence in their hands. So we got to know who they are. And this time, We have one African American already, which was historic, but now, if this another lady running, Terry Jameson, and if she gets it, we'll have 2 African Americans. I think maybe, I don't even think anywhere in the country has something like that. If so, it's very minimal. But you look at that, they'll have the judges this time, state judges, will have a D or an R by their name, representing their party. They didn't do that before. And because, you know, they think judges are supposed to be nonpartisan. Now, when you get your local judges, they're not identified. So you gotta be very careful. You done went in there because you don't wanna seem like you don't know what you're talking about. And now you done circled the person that's not fair. And then you get mad, say, man, that judge ain't been doing nothing, just throwing people in jail, not giving them a chance, not being fair, not being equal.
You voted him in.
But you voted him in, because one guy told me that. I voted for the lady, I didn't know her, but I didn't want to look dumb. And now she's the person that's, every time I look up, she's throwing people and not giving them a chance. And she's, you know, and you come to me after you done voted for her and want me to do something about it. I can't do nothing about it. You want to meet the judges before you have to meet the judges. You know
right.
Before they get that robe on. So you want to get this, and you can always Google, get this paper, and then Google. We Google everything else.
Where is that paper?
These papers are available. They have them at libraries and everything, but you could call the League of Women Voters, and they can get you some papers. Every church should have them. Just like we have Bible study, we need to go through a voter study. To go through these, if any questions you have, that's the time. Because once you go in there, there's nobody that can help you and tell you what they're doing. And if you don't know something, skip it. Don't go running putting it in. Just 'cause, yeah, skip it. This ain't we're not grading you. You won't get, we're not gonna, this not your midterm or anything. Nobody's gonna know, you don't have to feel like I'm not smart. But please, if you can, and the key to voting is be in advance. In advance, if you can. Get this, read it. Any questions you have, you ask the questions. I'm available. You can ask me questions. Get the question. I do have several people that call me. Every time there's an election, we go through. They want to know this. I answer the questions. I give them the best answers I can. So when they go in, they already have they done wrote down their paperwork, and they go in and they vote, hopefully for their own interests. The other thing I want to say is that some people say, man, I voted, and my people never got in. And I ain't doing it no more, because I voted 2 times, and I'm 0-2. And the thing that gets me is that, number one, you voted 2 times, but it didn't cost you anything. You don't have no bill. We're not sending you no bill or anything like that. Number 2, a lot of people are into sports. I'm a huge sports fan. We might have our football team or our basketball team. They don't win. LeBron and the Lakers didn't make it last time. I was not happy with it. I thought we had the right combination. We didn't. The Bengals, we was right at the Super Bowl. We didn't do it. But we never give up on them. We say, man, next year, we're going to put a few tweaks, and we coming back. And every year we think we can do it. But voting, and that's just a fun sport. If they win the Super Bowl, it's great. We get to party. We got bragging rights, but it don't really change your life. Exactly. It don't put no food on your table. Don't help you pay your bills. It doesn't tell you when you can and can't come outside. It doesn't stop you from opening your businesses. But you don't give up on it. I always say this to the Browns, Browns fans ain't never giving up. They still,
all the way.
We got something else for you. We coming with it next time. But with voting, if you don't win right away, you want to give up. And you're giving up on yourself. Now, instead of saying, okay, we got to tweak it, maybe we got to get some different candidates, or next time I'm going this way or that way. And even with the sports, it costs you. You either got to have cable or you got to go to the game, pay for it. So I'm saying if you don't give up on sports, or you don't give up on extracurricular, you don't give up on the concerts, you don't give up on any of that, why would you give up on yourself? Because that's what you're doing. You're going in there to vote for yourself, your interest. Because at the end of the day, we're going to take your taxes anyway. And don't you want to have a say where your money goes?
Yeah.
If I came up to you right now and say, I need $50 First thing you're going to ask me is,
For what?
For what? And that's what voting is. For what? What do you need my money for? What are you using my money for? So those are the things that I try to put and educate people so they don't think voting is so academic.
Yeah.
This is the baseline of what voting is.
Tell me this, as we get to this point where we can vote, which is now, voter registration, is that?
Voter registration is over.
It's over.
Once we
Okay.
start, it's like, the football season has started.
Yeah.
This is not a preseason anymore.
Yeah.
So
Official.
it's official. And so it's very important when this election is over that we double check our voter registration because there's some games being played. People have been what they call purged, like the movie. You've been erased because you didn't vote so many times.
Right.
So they've erased you, and then you show up, particularly when it's presidential. You ain't voted in the local council race. You ain't voted in the state races. Then you gonna come showing up at the presidential race because there's a lot going on. It's the end thing to do. I'm ready to go. And then they say, we ain't got you on here. And then you jump up and say, this is wrong. You gotta check it. We have a Hamilton County website. You go in there, you can put your name in, it'll pop up and tell you if you registered. You gotta double check your record. You gotta we in a society now where you got to double check everything because they're hoping that you're asleep. Do you know they clapping and if you stay home, some of people clapping because they know if you show up.
Yeah, impact.
They out. They know if you show up, they got to deal with your issues. They know if you show up, now you got to be part of the agenda. And I'm not saying that everyone who gets elected, I hear people, oh, when you get elected, you're not doing what you're supposed to. Well, we recruit some people. I know we recruited some people, I ain't gonna say their names, but we recruited some people and they say, oh man, they're gonna be really bad. And they get there and they're not the player we thought they were gonna be.
Right.
They didn't perform at this level.
Exactly.
They were good in college,
Yeah.
but they wasn't ready for the prime time. So what do? We try to trade them or get somebody else or, but we don't jump up and say, man, we through with the whole
team.
The whole team, the whole game. I'm done with this game because my people ain't winning. So we have to think of it in that regard. We got some players that's been recruited and they have not performed up to what we thought they would do. And so we've got to trade them and get rid of them and get some new players that can perform at that level. And then we keep doing it because they might say, I got this person. And they say, well, we really thought that person was going to do it. They didn't do nothing. Then we go get somebody else. They claim they going to do something and they didn't do it. And but we got to, and sometimes we got to work with them to get them to that level. So those are all the things, and that's not to make excuses. It's just to know that if it's my livelihood on the line, I got to stay engaged. I got to stay in the mix.
Yeah.
If my livelihood is on the line. And I really think, and I would hope that this quote unquote midterm, we'd have learned something from the pandemic, that the governor position is very important. We should know the governor position is very important. State politics is very important because it can shut everything down.
Amazing.
If they decide to.
Amazing. I did not know they had that much power.
I know, people are telling me.
State by state by state.
State by state. And let me say this, elections, that's why Secretary of State position is critical for two reasons. I run into so many people, I'm a business owner, I'm a small business, I'm an entrepreneur, but you don't know the Secretary of State. You got to get a certificate to even do business from the Secretary of State. So instead of just waiting on the certificate and see a name at the bottom and all you see is your name, you don't see who's signing it, wouldn't you say, hold on, I need to be voting for the Secretary? Every small business in Ohio, and across the country really, should be voting on who the Secretary of State is. Because now you dealing with my money. You dealing with my business. You dealing with my livelihood. I need to be making sure my voice is heard about you can't be walking around I didn't know nothing about no Secretary of State and then look at your certificate. So-and-so's business is accepted by the Secretary of State and they be posting it on Facebook, but don't never look at who is the signature. Who's in charge? So you have a chance. So I'm calling on all small businesses that claim you a small business, you an entrepreneur, you a self-made, you doing your thing. You need to be, I got a quiz for you. Who is your Secretary of State? Who did you vote for Secretary of State?
Didn't.
Is this person business friendly? Is this person minority business friendly? Is this person friendly toward cutting down the barriers, the taxes, and all those things for small businesses? You need to be Googling that more than taking selfies and putting it on your Instagram. That's real business. So when we start teaching people the other thing Secretary of State does is voting, obviously. So your voting rights and all that, that's under Secretary of State. But the thing they don't never talk about is the business side of the Secretary of State. They determine if you a business, if you a nonprofit. Everybody, I'm a nonprofit. Do you know your Secretary of State? Did you vote for him? Oh, no, I ain't voted for him. I'm just looking at the incorporation papers. Secretary of State matters. So Secretary of States can also shut down an election. The board, we run each election is under what? The Secretary of State runs the election. Keyword of state. So that's state by state. And they're the ones that, when you talk about voter suppression, they're the ones that decide, I'm gonna erase X amount of voters because they ain't voted this time. They're the ones even decide what is the machines that we're gonna use for the elections. They're the ones that decide if it's a split vote on some controversy with the vote. They make the determination. They're the ones determine if you can mail in votes and what days you can do. They're the ones determine if we can have voting on Saturday and Sunday. They're the ones who employ the boards of elections around the state. These boards of elections report to who? The Secretary of State. So that's what the Secretary of State does. So you can't just walk past it. You know, I'm only voting for the President of the United States. Most of your stuff don't even make it to the President. Most of the things you care, it don't even make it up there. And then how Washington works, you got Washington releases the money. But then it's got to get to you. It don't come straight to Washington to your front door. It's got to go to the state. Then the state got to give it to the county. That's why the county is important. And we as the county, we the delivery system. It's like going to Amazon. You done ordered, but the package never showed up. We are the delivery of the package. And that's why you get mad, because we have people that's county commissioners that you never voted for. You don't know nothing about the county. All you know about the county is either they taking you to court, you got child support, or jobs or family services, and you need some food stamps. That's all you know. You don't know nothing about the county. The money came down to the county, and the county was the one that got out to get you utility assistance, mortgage assistance, small business assistance. We did $11 million with small businesses. But if you got it to the county, like some of these other counties, that I went to the White House, they couldn't even spend their money. And I'm like, so they sending it back. So maybe the president did release it, but it never got to you. So Amazon never showed up with the package. So that's why you get frustrated and you say, man, I got to get them people out the White House. I voted and nothing ever happened for me. It didn't happen for you because you're not at every level. You only on one level. You didn't vote on all these levels. You didn't vote for the Secretary of State. You didn't vote for the county commission. You didn't vote for the Ohio Supreme Court justices. You got to know the whole game. You can't just know a little bit of the game. Yeah. That's why people play football. They start Pee Wee League, and then they got to go up to the junior high, then they go to the high school, then they go to the college, then they go to NBA. They ain't coming from the baby to the NFL. You got to be at every level. And that's the same thing with voting.
Just education. This is truly educational. I'm serious. It is so, I'm grateful. I'm so grateful because so many people tune in and, I'm just listening and thinking about, it doesn't matter your age. I mean, you could be 70 and not know. You could be 30 and not know.
That's right.
And you get this thing about, even our culture and how we do what we do, president, that's it. Right? When all of this local pieces and these state pieces matter and affect your life on a daily basis. So I am grateful that you would come and share with us today. There's so much more that I really we're gonna get into.
I get into this voting piece, and I hope that I can break it down, break these barriers down, so you don't feel intimidated when you go vote. But remember, people had to count the jelly beans in order to vote. They had to take a test in order to vote. And we got rid of all this stuff so that all you got to do is wake up out the bed, put your clothes on,
Go vote.
and go vote. And understanding that this can't happen on social media. Now, I do marketing, and consumer marketing is great. You go there, you hit a button, and you order something. But voting requires you to get up out the bed, put some clothes on, get in a car or a bus, and go do something. So this, you can't, girl, I tore them up on Facebook. Did you see what I said to them on Twitter? That stuff doesn't mean anything. And so I want to thank you for having me on the show. People can follow me on Alicia Reece for County Commission. That's my Facebook. I'm on Twitter, but I'm not answering. I don't go back and forth on no Twitter. But Facebook, you can hit me up. Hit me up on Instagram if you got questions. And of course, my office is 513-946-4402. 513-946-4402. My chief of staff is Pastor Quentin Monroe. So we always keep God first everywhere, all the way.
Yes, and Pastor Quentin Monroe did a fantastic job in communicating with me so that we would have this moment, opportunity to share with one another. I'm so thankful, and so I appreciate, Zion, you tuning in, and for those of you that tuned in, please share this. Share this on Facebook, share it on YouTube, share it however you share it. Get this word out, because this is education and we need it. We bless you. In Jesus' name, shalom.
Amen.
Hi, I'm Hamilton County Commissioner Alicia Reece, and we have a very important election coming up. Now, voting is essential. I'm not on the ballot this time, but every election matters. We've seen people turn their backs on women, and I'm asking for all women to meet me at my annual Women's March to the Polls. We're marching into this early vote center to cast our vote. Meet me Saturday, October 29th, 10:30 a.m. right here at the Board of Elections. Enough is enough. Voting is essential, and we will be heard.
The Zion Global Ministries way.